All right, come on in. Come on in, come on in. What's up, middle school? That was terrible. There it is. Hey, all right, here's what I want to hear. On a scale of super quiet to super loud, super quiet equals it was terrible, or no, it was awesome. Super loud equals it was terrible. I want to know how is it going being back in full-time school? There's a couple of you that are like, wait, it's actually really good, so I just sit here? Yeah, but the majority of us, man, all right, be honest. How hard was it when that alarm went off? Am I right? Oh, my goodness. All right. Welcome to Keystone Youth, you guys. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Will still, and I am really excited about what's going on tonight. I don't know if you know this. Hey, do you guys know what happened today? It was kind of a big deal. Does anybody know? You just shout it out. Yeah, that's a really hard word to say, but the inauguration. Yeah, now I can't say it right. The inauguration was today, and it was a reminder of politics and the fact that, I don't know if you know this, but like our whole country doesn't agree about their politics. Did you guys know that? It's crazy. And so I was thinking about something that if there's ever been a time where I feel like we should agree about some things, it's right here. If there's ever been a place where I think we should agree about some things, it's right here. We don't have to agree about who should be president. I mean, we can agree on who is president, right? Like, at least we can agree on that. But like, we don't have to agree about who should be. But there's a lot of really important issues that we should be like-minded on. And so we're actually gonna play a game tonight called Like-Minded, I think. Where's it at? Like-Minded, there it is. Like-Minded, and here's how this game is gonna work. Everybody is gonna stand up, mask up, and partner up. So stand up, mask up, partner up. You find one person, okay? And here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna put something up on the screen. It's an either or question. And here's how it works. You are gonna go back to back with your partner. You're gonna go back to back with your partner. We're gonna read the question, and then on the count of three, you're gonna spin around. You're gonna hold up a number one or a number two. If you are like-minded, if you agree, you get 1 point. If you disagree, you get no points. Okay? That's how it's gonna work. Let's try one just to see how it goes. Everybody on your feet, and everybody find a partner. On your feet, find a partner. On your feet, find a partner. You gotta be like-minded. The very first one is, hold on, these are important issues, guys. We have to agree on these. You ready? Would you rather be a famous rapper or a famous singer? Famous rapper, famous singer. 3, 2, 1. Turn around and show your answer. It's either a 1 or a 2. All right, these guys both want to be singers. All right. That was a practice round. Do you understand it? Everybody good? Okay. Shh. Are you ready for the real life thing to start? You guys ready? Okay. I'm going to introduce one more complication. Every round, every question, you have to go find a new person and introduce yourself. All right? So, the person you're with now will not necessarily be the person at the end. New person every round. If you haven't met them yet, make sure you share your name, say hi. We're gonna be like-minded, all right? Here we go. Back to back. Here it is. Would you rather win American Idol or American Ninja Warrior? 1 or 2 on 1, 2, 3, spin. Oh! Hey, all my American Idols, where you at? Where you at, American Idols? Where's my Ninja Warriors at? Okay, all right. All right, now find a new partner. Find a new partner, quick. All right, here we go. All right, partner up. New partner up. All right, back to back. Would you rather perform at the Super Bowl halftime show or play football in the Super Bowl halftime show? 3, 2, 1, spin. All right, if you're like-minded, give yourself a point. I'm so glad all right, how many of you guys got a point on that round? Where my football players at? All right, where's my singers at? There we go. Okay, here we go. Next question. Find a new partner. Find a new partner. Introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name is Will. We're going to be like-minded. All right, hold on. Whoa, wow, we flying. All right. Would you rather live 100 years in the future, hello, flying cars, or 100 years in the past, hello, horse and buggy? All right. On your mark. 3, 2, 1. Spin around. 1 or 2. All right. How many of you have 3 points or more? Whoa. All right, here we go. Find a new partner, and then we'll show you the next question. Find a new partner. Someone you haven't been a partner with yet. Your friend group, you're going to run out. You're going to have to meet new people. It won't kill you, I promise. All right. You have 3 seconds to find your partner, and then we're going to read the question. 3, 2, 1. Show us the question. Would you rather eat spicy wings or bite into ice cream with your teeth? 3, 2, 1. Show us your answers. Oh, ice cream people, where you at? I love me some biting into the ice cream. All right. All right, find a new partner. We're going to do 2 more. 2 more. All right, how many people have 4 points? Anybody with 4 points? We got a few of you. Few of you. All right, anybody with 5 points? Anybody with 5 points? Good. Okay, all right. All right, here we go. Next question. Would you rather be allergic to chocolate or allergic to bread? 3, 2, 1. Show us your answers. Oh. Oh my goodness. Now we have some science arguments happening here. We're going to stop. All right. All right. Here we go. Find a new partner. All right. This is it. This is the last question. Find a new partner. Oh, wait. No, this can't be the last question. We're going to do one more after this one. All right. Here we go. Find a partner. Partner up. Would you rather take every vacation to Disney World or every vacation to New York City? 3, 2, 1. Show us those answers. All right, Disney people, where's my Mickey Mouse lovers at? Come on. Yeah, you know you love it. You know you love it. All right. All right, here we go. Last question. Find a new partner for the very last time. Someone that you have not partnered up with before. Guys, you might even have to go find a girl. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, here we go. Last one. Would you rather never wear deodorant? Some of you are like, yeah, we already don't do that. Or have really bad dandruff. Never wear deodorant or have really bad dandruff. 3, 2, 1. Show us your answers. Oh. All right, all right, all right. All right, guys, head on back to your seats. All right, head on back to your seats. Make sure you're spread out. Make sure you got at least a couple seats between you, and then you can take your mask off. All right, I want to know, did anyone have a perfect run? These guys? Are you cheating, Justice? It's not good to cheat in church. Don't lie in church, Justice. All right, all right. Guys, look how many things we can agree on. Right? Why do politics have to be so hard? We can agree on so many things. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are so like-minded. I love it. All right. I want to tell you about a couple things, and then we're actually doing something really different tonight. We're actually not going to sing tonight. I know we normally sing every week, and so I want to tell you about a couple things coming up, and then we're going to jump right into the Bible, and we have some stuff on the back end planned for you guys. So here's what I want to tell you real quick. Number one, I mentioned this last week, but baptisms are this coming Sunday. So if you're like, I've been waiting for the last minute, Will, because I'm a last minute kind of person and I don't like to do things early, well, this is it. This is the last minute, okay? So if you're on the fence, if you've been like, man, I want to do it, but I'm scared. I want to do it, but I'm not sure if it's the right time. I know I should do it, but if you're having that conversation in your head, have that conversation with your connection group leader, with a parent, with a friend. Have it with me after, and I would love to have a conversation with you and just see, man, if you've got a relationship with Jesus, and if you want to follow Jesus, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be perfect, but if you want to follow Jesus, you have a relationship with him, we'd love to baptize you on Sunday. So that's coming up. I want to make sure you know about that. Last thing is this. How many of you took the challenge to memorize last week's verse? Anybody? One? Anybody else? Two? Okay, a couple of you. Three? All right, here's what's going to happen. How many of you, if you memorize it, are you feeling brave and bold? Okay. I want to give you an opportunity. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. If you memorized it and you're feeling brave and bold, you have an opportunity to win McDonald's for your entire connection group. Right now. Right here, right now. If you can stand up and you can say last week's verse, start to finish, you win for your entire connection group. Does anybody want to take me up on it? Lorraine, come on up. Come on up. All right, Lorraine. All right, here we go. You got it? This is impressive. If you do this, your connection group is going to love you forever. They're going to owe you big time. All right. Shh. Quiet on the set. All right, this is your chance.
Okay. How sweet your word is to my taste, sweeter than honey in my mouth. I gain understanding from your precepts. Therefore, I hate every false way. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 103 through 105.
Woo! Come on, let's give it up. All right, come on. That's a great job. You can go have a seat. Lorraine, I'm so proud of you. Your connection group, where's your connection group at? You guys excited? All right, here's how this is going to work. Next Wednesday night, there will be McDonald's brought to your connection group. So, next Wednesday night, this is going to be your opportunity. How many of you were like, man, I kind of wish I'd have tried. I wish I'd have memorized that verse. All right, we have another opportunity coming up this week. There's a brand new reading plan, a brand new verse of the week, and you're going to have an opportunity. I'm not telling you what you're winning. I'm not guaranteeing you McDonald's 2 weeks in a row, but I got you something good, I promise. So, if you're bummed out that you missed last time, and you're like, man, I should have done it, next week is your opportunity. You can say this week's verse for a chance to win something your entire connection group will love you for. All right. With that said, guys, I would love to transition into a time of having some conversation about something that I think is super, super important and super overlooked. So how many of you, be honest, how many of you know what this is? Raise your hand if you know what this is. There are some of you in here, you have no idea what this is. Right here. Can you see this? How many of you have ever seen one of these in your own home? Look at all the hands that went down. How many of you still have one of these in your home? Like one person? Okay. Somebody shout out real quick. What is this? It's a phone. Good, good. It's an old-fashioned landline. And you would pick it up, and you would hear this bzzz, and that's how you know it was working. Oops, wrong one. That's how you know it was working, is it would make this weird dial tone noise in your ear, but sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would make other random noises. Sometimes you would call somebody, and you would get what they called a busy signal, where it would just beep, because you could only have one phone call to the entire house at a time. How many of you like talking on the phone? Like you actually use your cell phone for phone things. You like being on the phone. All right. How many of you would rather make a phone call than send a text message? Like 3 people, 4 people. Okay. What? All the rest of you, if you don't like being on the phone, why not? Okay, texting is faster. What else? I'm a little bit antisocial. There's nothing wrong with that. All the introverts in the room say, yeah. Oh, wait, no, you're not going to say anything because you're introverts. Okay. All right, that's fair. Okay, what else? What's another reason that you don't want to pick up the phone? You don't have one. Okay. All right. Can I give you yeah. That's it. Yeah, you might interrupt somebody, right? So if you call me and my phone's ringing, now it's going to interrupt me. If you text me, I can just get to it when I get to it, right? And so there's a little bit of like insecurity of like, well, what if they don't answer? Or what if they answer and they're like really annoyed? Like they're like, hello, yes, I was in the middle of winning $100,000, but now I'm not going to win it. You're like, oh man, like I ruined their life. You're like, yeah, so there's like this insecurity of like, what if they don't answer? Or what if they answer and they're annoyed to talk to me? There's a lot of reasons not to make a phone call. There's a lot of reasons that texting is so much easier, right? Like if I text something, you're not gonna like interrupt me halfway through. Like what if you have something really important you wanna say, and you're like, I wanna say the whole thing, but if I call you, you might be like, interrupt me halfway through. Like, but if I text it, I can say it all the way. If I call you, I have to actually like say what I think, and that's scarier than just typing what I think. Anybody else, you feel that a little bit? I feel that. When I was growing up, we didn't have a choice because you can't text on these, okay? I'm really old, and I didn't have a cell phone until high school, but you can't text on these, and we would have to make phone calls, and I avoided it like at any cost possible. And the reason I'm talking about this is because tonight, in our series of transformation, as we're talking about being transformed and being changed, we're saying, hey, okay, what are the things that we can do to be transformed? Remember the Play-Doh from a couple weeks ago, transformed into the image of God instead of conformed and stuck in our default shape, right? Like, which is sin. And last week, Joe came and Joe was like, hey guys, if you want to be transformed, you need to experience the power of Scripture in your life. You have to experience the power of Scripture in your life if you want to experience transformation. That's what all the verses and all the reading were about last week. This week, I'm telling you right now that if you want to experience transformation, you're going to have to experience the power of prayer. And the reason that we're using a phone is because tonight I want to talk to you about 3 kinds of phone calls. 3 kinds of phone calls, which are also 3 kinds of prayers. 3 kinds of calls, 3 kinds of prayers. So when I was growing up, I didn't want to talk on the phone. Okay, let me back up. You couldn't text people, you couldn't Snapchat people. So if you wanted to talk to your friends and you weren't in the same room, this is how you did it, okay? And there were people, I'm not picking on girls, but let's be honest, mostly girls, who would sit on these things for hours and hours and hours, and I was not one of those people. I didn't want to make phone calls. I wanted to hang out with my friends in the same room, and if we weren't in the same room, I kind of probably forgot they existed and was like playing with Nintendo, right? Like that was kind of how I rolled. But there was 3 kinds of phone calls that I would make. And honestly, like as we start to talk about prayer, I'm gonna say that most of us are probably not good at praying. If you're really honest, I don't want anybody to raise your hand, okay? Because that would be weird. But ask yourself, do you really pray the way you think you're supposed to pray? Do you want to pray? Do you wake up in the morning going, man, I can't wait to spend time in prayer? Most of us, our attitude about prayer is a lot the same as my attitude was about phone calls. I didn't really want to do it, but there was 3 exceptions. 3 exceptions, 3 phone calls that I would make, and I think there's 3 prayers that go along with these. So, if you're ready, here we go. Phone call number 1, the 911 emergency. Even now, with all your fancy cell phones, if you fall off a mountain, hypothetically, if hypothetically you were in Colorado hiking a mountain and you fell down it, which if you haven't known me for very long, I've done that, okay? I've been there and I've done that. You don't send a text to 911. Hey, fell down, right? Text me back when you have a minute, right? Right? And then they text you back, they're like, BRB, little busy, right? And you're like, no, you can't do that. You don't do that. You pick up the phone and you go, 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, I'm with my youth pastor. He just fell off the mountain. I think he's broken. No, he's not dead. He's just talking crazy. Like a little bit true, am I right, Obi? Like Obi was on the phone with the 911 people, okay? The 911 emergency calls, you still, even today in 2021, you're not sending a text message if it's a 911 emergency. You're picking up the phone because there's a sense of urgency and you need it now, right? Like mine was, I fell off a mountain, I'm broken, okay? Come get me, please. Maybe you've been in your home when somebody's had to call 911. Maybe you've watched, and you're big into like watching some of these 911 shows, right? You like love watching these dispatcher shows where all this crazy stuff happens. Like these people call and they're like panicking, and it turns out that their like cat just got stuck down their drain, and you're like, I don't even know how your cat's tail got down your drain. Like, why are you calling 911? Like weird stuff, and maybe you love that. But if you have a 911 emergency, you make a phone call. And there's a lot of people that the only kind of time they ever pray, and maybe you're this way, the only time we ever pray is when there's a 911 emergency. It looks something like this. I'm going through life. My life is great. I'm super happy with my life. I've got good friends. Everything's great. And all of a sudden, something happens and it's a 911 emergency. All of a sudden, in the middle of my life that's going super great, something happens. There are more 911 emergency prayers sent from crashing planes than probably from anywhere else, right? Like all these people who never prayed before in their lives, they never saw a need for God before in their lives, everybody is a prayer if your plane is crashing in the Pacific Ocean. Would you guys agree with that? Right? Everybody's like, yeah, God, I know we haven't talked in like 37 years, but I could really use your help right now. Right? And then we always make these promises when we do this, right? We're like, and also, if you get me out of this bind, God, if for some reason I live through this, I promise I'll never sin again. I'll go to church every single Sunday. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll do all of it. Everything you ask me to do. I'll read my Bible. I'll be nice to my friends, even my sister. Right? We make all these crazy promises in these 911 prayers because honestly, it's an emergency. We're in trouble. And we're like, God, you got to get me out of this. That's the first kind of prayer, is a 911 prayer. And honestly, there is nothing wrong with a 911 prayer. I want you to see this. Here we go. I want to show you a couple verses. Number one, Psalm 40:13. It's super short because 911 calls don't have to be long. You're not like, hey, God, how you doing? Hope your day was okay. Mine was kind of bad. Right? Like, you just jump right to it. Lord, please rescue me. Hurry to help me, Lord. This is a 911 prayer. This is 911 emergency. Yeah, I'm at 849 South Ankeny Boulevard, and I can't find my legs. They're missing, right? Like, it's like, get here now. Okay, 911 emergency prayer. They're not bad. They're all over the book of Psalms. Check this one out. Psalm 69, verse 1. This is a 911 if I've ever heard it. Save me, God. The water has risen to my neck. I've sunk deep in mud. There's no footing. I've come to deep water. The floods, they sweep over me. I'm weary from crying. My throat is parched. My eyes fail looking for my God. Does that sound like an emergency prayer to you? Save me. And he uses this analogy. He's not physically drowning. Here, put that verse back up there for a second. He's not physically drowning. But he's using this analogy that my life is in a place where it's like I'm out in a river and I've sunk so deep that I'm up to here. And if it comes any higher, I'm going to drown. And I can't just swim away from it because my feet are deep in the mud. There's nothing I can do. I can't get out. He says, I've come into deep water. The flood's sweeping over me. It's a 911 emergency prayer. And he says, I'm weary from crying. Imagine somebody stranded in a river and they're screaming to God at the top of their lungs, somebody's got to come help me. Because it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. He says, God, my eyes fail because I've been looking so hard for somebody to rescue me. 911 emergency. And some of you, you've prayed some of those prayers in your life. Some of you, you've maybe been going through your life and you've been totally fine, and you've kind of ignored God a little bit. But then something happens. You're like, God, you got to help me. God, you got to help me. And here's what I want you to hear. If that is the prayer that you need to pray tonight, God wants to answer those prayers. Look at this verse, Psalm 81, verse 7. This is God responding. He said, you called out in distress. You dialed 911, and I rescued you, and I answered you from the thundercloud. Maybe you've called a bunch of those prayers. And maybe you need to call one right now. Maybe like there's something going on in your life right now. You're experiencing something going on at home, with your family, your parents. Maybe it's relationships that are super broken and jacked up. Maybe it's health. Maybe there's something going on and you're like, man, I don't know where to turn for help. I don't even know who to call. Guys, 911 emergency prayers, God welcomes them. But they're not the only type. And honestly, you're going to see at the end of this that I don't think they're even the best. But they're necessary. And man, if that's where you're at, start there. The second time I would pick up the phone when I was in high school was way more enjoyable. Because there was nothing better than a Friday night with a pizza. And the only way to get pizza back in my day was to pick up the phone. So, phone call / prayer number 2 is the pizza order. Okay? The pizza order. And you know this. No, you don't know this because you order your pizzas through an app on your phone. I know that. But here's how it worked in my day. Pick up the phone, make a phone call, 9640404. That's Papa John's phone number in Ankeny. Yep. Thank you for calling Papa John's. Can you hold, please? 87 minutes later. Okay. Thank you for holding. Would you like to try our pineapple luau supreme? No, I just want a pepperoni, okay? Like, I want a pepperoni pizza. You would pick up the phone because I wanted something. I really wanted a pizza to go with my Blockbuster movie. You don't know what that is, but we used to rent movies, okay? You would order a pizza, or you would pick up the phone to order something because you knew that on the other end of that phone call was something I wanted. And I think this is a lot like the second type of prayer. Some of you, everybody prays in the emergency. When the plane is crashing, everybody's on the phone, 911 emergency, God, I need your help right now. The vast majority of us, the other time we actually pray is the pizza order. And maybe you're not ordering pizza from God. You're like, dear God, hey, it's me, Will. Christmas is coming. I would really like a new pair of shoes. I would really like fill in the blank. And maybe it's not that trivial. Maybe it's something more important. But the only time we actually call God is when we want something. Have you guys been guilty of that? Have you been guilty of that? Like, how many of your prayers are 911 emergencies, and how many of them are the pizza order? Like, you're just calling God because you want something. You have a desire and a want. And you read scripture, and you might be like, oh, yeah, it should be totally fine, because here's what Jesus says. Look at John 14, verse 12. John 14:12, there it is. Truly I tell you, the one who believes in me, I will do the works that I do, and he will do even greater works than these, because I'm going to the Father. Look at verse 13. And whatever you ask in my name, I will do it, so the Father may be glorified in the Son. You ask me anything in my name, I will do it. So if phone call number 1 is a 911 emergency, phone call number 2 is the pizza order. It's like, God, there's something I want, and you promised me in John chapter 14 that, like, you're gonna answer my prayers, right? So God, if you really love me, then, like, you'll give me this. And maybe it's material. More often, though, I think it's other things. We want a social status with our friends. We want to make the team. How many of you have prayed harder to make the team, or to make maybe it's the arts, and like you're like, man, I've prayed harder for that than I've ever prayed for anything in my life, right? Like, because I just want to be a starter, right? I just want to have an opportunity. Maybe I don't know what it is for you. But the only time we call God is when we need something. God's our pizza guy. And you read this verse and you're like, okay, kind of seems like that's what Jesus wants to do. But I want to give you a warning with this one. Look at what James says in chapter 4, verse 1. He says, what's the source of wars and fightings among you? Don't those things come from your passions that wage war in you? And you desire things and you don't have them. You murder and you covet and you can't get what you want. He says you fight and you wage war. And then he says this about prayer. You do not have because you do not ask. And you ask and don't receive. You're like, hold on a second. I thought Jesus said I was going to give you whatever you ask in my name. But he says you ask and you don't receive because you ask with wrong motives so you can spend it on your pleasures. How many of our prayers, our pizza order prayers, are actually just our selfishness? And they're not asking for the kinds of things that God actually wants to give us. And they're not asking for the kind of motives. And so tonight I want to introduce you to a third type of prayer. In the last couple minutes tonight, I want to introduce you to a third type of prayer. And what the third type of prayer does is it transforms your desire to pick up this phone. All of a sudden, this third type of phone call changed my opinion of phones. For the first 18 years of my life, I never wanted to pick up the phone unless it was an emergency or I was ordering a pizza. But something changed. What it changed was when I was 18, I met a girl. And shortly after my 19th birthday, we started dating. And I lived in the dorm on one side of campus, and she lived on the other side of campus. And we'd be in our dorm, and we started to call each other. Hey, what you doing? Nothing. What you doing? Nothing. Seriously, that's how it went. Like these awkward long pauses, right? Everything changed. All of a sudden, she had roommates, and her roommates knew that 11 o'clock every night was will time. That's what they called it. Like it was on the calendar. 11 p.m., don't use his phone. Because remember what I said? Only one person in the whole room can make a phone call at a time? Nobody touches the phone at 11 p.m. 11 p.m. is will time. And all of a sudden, I didn't care what else was going on in the dorm. Like there might have been like people like wrestling and like throwing people through walls. I'm like, I don't care. It's will time. And we would sit on the phone. And guess what? It wasn't an emergency. Guess what else? I didn't really want anything from her. I didn't want a pizza, right? Like, honestly, I just wanted to like spend time with her. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to get to know her. And so we would sit there, and for what seemed like hours, we would tell each other the tiny little details of our day. And some of you guys are still, you don't like girls yet, and you're like, this is so gross. And some of you girls are like, still don't like boys yet, and you're like, what a waste of time. And some of you are just living in 2021, and you're like, can't you just text him? Like, can't you just DM him? I'm telling you, it's not the same. We would sit there, and these phone calls were not about something we could get. It was honestly about getting to know the other person. These are the relationship calls. And this is relationship prayer. When my phone became about a relationship, everything changed. When my phone became about a relationship, everything changed because the number one purpose of the call was not to get something from her, but to get to know her. The number one purpose of me picking up that phone at 11 o'clock every single night. Now I'm in bed by like 9:30. I'm like, I don't know what I was doing. But I was young then. I just wanted to get to know her. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to figure out what kinds of things that she liked. What was funny to her? What did she enjoy? And this is a picture of what prayer should be. If you want to experience transformation in your life, you're going to have to move from prayer being only when you're in an emergency, for prayer being only when you want something, to prayer being about relationship. Something has to change. This is the kind of prayer, this is the kind of conversation that you should desire more than anything else. Because what happens is the more that you actually spend time in relational prayer, the more all of a sudden you get to hear, what is God like? You get to experience, man, what is it like to be with him? And all of a sudden now, when you do want something, when you do need something, it's out of relationship and not out of some like distant pizza guy on the other end of the phone. Everything changes. I want you to look at Psalm 27 with me. Psalm 27 is a psalm of David. And David wrote a lot of those emergency prayers. He wrote a lot of those 911 prayers. He had people trying to kill him his entire life. But look at what he says. This is so incredible. He says, Lord, hear my voice when you call. Let's actually back up. Psalm 27:4 says this. It says, I have asked one thing from the Lord. It is what I desire, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of the Lord and seeking him in his temple. He says, I'm only asking for one thing. And all it is that I want to be with God. I want to be around him. I want to get to experience him. That's the one thing I want. And then skip down to verse 7, he says, so hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. Not because I have an emergency, not because I really want something from you, but why? He says, my heart says this about you. Seek his face. So Lord, I will seek your face. God, if you only answer one prayer of mine, he says, it's just that we get to be together. That's all I really want. In this moment, David would have traded every 911 call and every pizza call for this relationship kind of prayer. And so I think the question for us is like, how do we get there, right? Like, because it's great to talk about that. But if we're honest, it's hard to get excited about getting on the phone. It's hard to get excited about sitting down to pray. And I want to give you just a couple of tips for relationship prayer or relationship phone calls, because most of these tips came from my relationship phone calls. You ready? Number 1, intentionally prioritize prayer. Guys, 11 p.m. in a college dorm, there was 1,000 things I could have been doing instead of talking about nothing with my future wife. There's 1,000 things I could have been doing. There was always video games to play. There was card games to play. There was people to like wrestle and teeth to be knocked out. Like there was homework to be done, but honestly, who wants to do that? But nothing else mattered in that moment. 11 p.m., she was the priority. It was all I cared about. Jesus was the same way about prayer with his Father when he was here on earth. Look at Luke chapter 5, verse 15. He says, the news about Jesus spread even more, and large crowds would come together to hear him, and he would be healed of their sicknesses. But often, Jesus withdrew to deserted places and prayed. He could have done 1,000 things. There was people that needed to be healed. There was people who wanted to hear about God, and they wanted to hear his teaching. But it says, priority for him was to withdraw and to pray. So if you want to experience prayer that is transformational, you've got to make it a priority. And part of that is you need to create both time and space for prayer. 11 p.m. was will time. 11 p.m. was my time on the phone with my future wife to get to know her. Do you have time and space carved into your life to just spend time in prayer to actually get to know God? And if you tell me you're too busy, I get it. But also, are you busier than Jesus? Because that might be its own problem. Can we be honest about that? create time and space for prayer. And then the last one is pay attention in prayer. Guys, write things down. Remember things, engage things. Make a list of some of the things that you're asking God about. Keep track of, man, how many times am I just asking God for things? And how many times am I just coming to him because I want to get to know him better? Write down the times that he does answer your prayers. But this is maybe the most important thing of all. Relationship prayer starts with a relationship. In other words, if you don't have a relationship with God, if you've never come to a point where through prayer you've said, Jesus, I know that I'm a sinner. I know I don't deserve to be around you, but God, I want to be with you. I recognize that your death on the cross for my sin, it sets me free from all of that junk, and I want relationship with you. If that's never been true for you, that's where it starts. So, create time and space, make it a priority, pay attention when you pray. And here's what's crazy. All of a sudden now, when you're praying because you need something, when you're praying because you have something that you want, those things are okay. Jesus encourages those things, but you begin to pray things that are consistent with who God is because you've gotten to know him a little bit. And so I want to give you a couple tools real quick. One of them is we've created another reading plan for you. It's just 1 week, but it's all about prayer. And so you can pick those up. Your connection group leaders can pick those up on the desk, the white table back here. The second one is this. If you are feeling like, man, I want to pray. I'm not great at it. I want to get better at it. We've created a little bit more of an in-depth opportunity for you. This is called a prayer journal. It's a 30-day project. And here's the deal. If you miss a day, like nobody's going to be mad at you. I promise. Actually, nobody even has to know. I mean, God knows, but he's cool with it, right? So give yourself some grace, but it's a 30-day prayer journal, and it gives you prompts. It's super, guys, it's so simple. It gives you prompts to say, all right, here's a verse, and then just write out a prayer. If you've never prayed consistently, I would encourage you to give this a shot. We've got some on the back. I would say, man, if you're not interested, don't take one. Like, we're not like trying to sell you something. I'm not going to be mad if you don't want to do it. But if you're ready to take a next step in your transformation through prayer, this is that opportunity. So here's what I want to do. I want to spend the next couple minutes in prayer. Just right where you are. I'm not going to make you pray out loud. I'm not going to make you pray anything crazy or do anything crazy. If you're not comfortable praying, I want you to just sit. But we're going to pray, and we're going to pray through what was Jesus' model prayer. And I'm going to give you some prompts to just think about. It's only going to be like 2 minutes, guys, so dial in with me. I think you can do this. I believe in you. But hear Jesus when he talks about prayer. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 9, Jesus says this. Therefore, you should pray like this. Our Father in heaven, your name be honored as holy. Guys, this is a prayer about who God is. So take 15 seconds and bow your head and close your eyes for just a minute. Close your eyes with me. God, we recognize that you are holy, and we want to get to know the kind of person, the kind of God that you are. God, every young man and every young woman in this room, God, I pray that they would experience who you are. The second line of Jesus' prayer says this. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God, we spend a lot of time asking for the things that we want. So God, the students in this room, God, me on this stage, God, would you help us to care more about what you want than what we want for our own lives? God, that's real relationship, is that we consider you and your needs and your wants more than ours. And God, we want your kingdom to come. The next part is this: give us today our daily bread. There are things that you need in your life. You know what they are. I'm going to actually let you fill in that blank right now. God, you know that in our lives today we need this. Maybe it's a financial need in your family. Maybe there's something that is really an emergency in your family. Just take a minute and say, God, you gotta meet us here. And the last two verses are all about God's deliverance from sin. Listen to this. He says, forgive us our debt as we've forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. God, you know where we've sinned. So just as you sit, if there's sin in your life and you've not asked God's forgiveness, would you take a minute and say, God, would you forgive me? It's a relationship, and when we mess up, we need to experience forgiveness. And the last one is about temptation. So maybe you've not fallen into sin yet, but God, the devil's been pulling at you hard. Say, God, you know where I'm tempted. Will you deliver me? It's in Jesus' wonderful name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, so you have tons of time in your connection group to not just talk about prayer, but to pray. And so what I'd love for you to do is stand up. If you know your connection group, you guys are dismissed to your connection group. If you need help finding your group, let me know. I'm happy to help you. But remember to pick up the phone. Bye, guys.